Is the 14th of February, 2024. It happens to be Wednesday, and it happens to be Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I will put out there very much so that it was one of those things that I kind of wish that we or miss a little bit what we previously had when we had these holidays, these what I would call minor holidays. Some people not so much, but we had these holidays throughout the year when Upland would have a sale and say, buy Upix, $50 of Upix, you get 50,000 Upix, you get the Block Explorer. Theoretically, they had smaller denominations, which were easier for other people to get into. 5,000 Upix, you pay $5, you get a little Block Explorer. That it's pretty common. More rare Block Explorers with the $10, the $20 set. Fewer of those available. Obviously, cost more money. You get the equivalent amount of Upix back, and that's kind of changed a little bit. So what we have for Valentine's Day this year is these little tiny hearts that are on your Block Explorer flying around the space of Upland. If you currently have the Frost Pass burned, I've got my snowflakes up. Actually, we can take a look at that if you are watching on Discord. If you're on Discord, you're hearing me, but if you're watching on YouTube, you can take a peek. We've got those up right now. I can take a look at what those actual hearts look like, so we can get a better view of those as well. But that's what we've got for the holiday going on this year. But what we do have for announcements today, obviously the big one was a new badge. The kind of want to get into a little bit of the hints and the leans towards utility with Spark here moving forward, or what that may mean as we look at the announcement of further Spark utility in Upland, how that kind of hopefully builds a little more focus on people to start looking at not only building, but what they're building, how they're building structures, and theoretically, that might look like a more full Upland map with more varieties of properties or structures around the map. We'll get into the specifics and all the details there with our newest badge. Obviously, we did have the Kart Sale today. We'll get into a couple things there. Obviously, I do want to put the reminders out there for those on the market. I have already done some pretty significant flips myself on the Upix, on the USD to Upix side. I'm still halfway between determining if I'm going to try to get that one of 20 Frankenstein to try to complete my little monster truck. But I've seen those become very rare and not appear that anyone really wants to sell those. The people with those appear to be trying to build their own monster truck. Well, likely where a lot of people are on those, but we'll get into that as well. Of course, the one other thing I do want to get into, I've been talking about it a lot, is just to look at where we are, the announcements that happened today, and how they line up with a few things going forward. One of those push forwards is just to have an idea out with your feelers out and eyeballs open for Genesis Week 2024. That was something that would have, should have, could have. Was suggested that we would know more about end of January, middle of February. A little bit of update, but just the update is more waiting, unfortunately, but we'll get into that as well. Before we get into the day's news, of course, let's get a disclaimer out of the way. All views and opinions expressed by myself, they're mine and mine alone, shouldn't be taken as game strategy or financial advice. Something that coming from my lips is coming from the lips of the Goldsmith. Cafe Nightly Show, the Goldsmith is not directly speaking for Upland, the team of Upland, or the game itself. Just keep that in mind. But any opinions, any speculation I put out there, do try to make clear and different from or differentiated from the facts that we know. And of course, do like to point out where I think things are contextually as well. But as we do jump into things, I do want to start, like we said, I already put it out there. Here are what we have currently available. The drop was yesterday, Tuesday. If you had burnt your Frost Pass, you have access to these attributes that you could have, or these little animations over your Block Explorer. There's the hearts. There's the snow. Over here is a Stay Frosty little air bubble, little speech bubble, cartoon speech bubble. And here's one that says, "Cool, brah," which I don't know what that has to do with Frost. I really don't. Frost season. Yeah. I get that they made one speech bubble that says "Stay Frosty," alluding to the cold weather, the cold time of year. But cool, brah. The word "cool," I guess. I don't know. But that is what we got. Those are the four that we got for having the pass. Keep in mind, this is a weekly drop, so we're going to continue to get these throughout the rest of the frost season. Frost season runs until the middle of March, so we do have a few more weeks to go. And we will look forward to potentially seeing if we do have or when we do have our next sale of this. These are going to be on a monthly or on a seasonal basis, so season running about 45 days. The next sale likely to be in the same price range. We'll have to see. $6.99 USD sale only on that pass that you burn, with a caveat that we don't know if everything's going to run exactly the same next month as this month, but so far we have the indications of what things have been running like, what they have looked like, and these animations over the Block Explorers with a badge really being what is the expected. And some people have enjoyed it, and knowing what you're getting into. Of course, I do like to put the caveat out there that if you have not burnt a frost season pass and you want to buy one, you cannot retroactively collect these big game graphics to these footballs. You can't get those. You will not get these right here. You will get what we have coming forward to us for the future weeks on every Tuesday for the rest of the season. So that's where we are as of right now. But let's take a look at the announcements here. Again, the big piece of the announcement worth going over again, the one that was specific today. If I get up into announcements, there we go. Here we go. If we get up into announcements, obviously the big one here is the structure badge. We'll get into that. I guess it was down here. No, we'll go back earlier into the announcement as opposed to going into that update. Going to the announcement again on these cards, there was a little update on it, but the Monster Mayhem cards is the easiest way to get in there. Sale happened today. The sale obviously did sell out. We did have a total of 240 of these little guys available. They were sold on a 1-per-1 blind basis. You didn't know what you were getting. You were always hoping for this little Noodle Fang here or this little Frankenstein being the rare, being the linchpin, being the rarest of the bunch. That was going to determine, as far as I'm concerned, that's going to determine who actually gets to get the car. The truck at the end. Keep in mind that this is no longer a burn event. This is a essentially keep and snapshot event. And then after the snapshot, you can do whatever you want with the carts. You can sell them, you can trade them, you can keep them, whatever you want to do. But up until the snapshot, obviously people would be accumulating them. We'll continue to accumulate them until we have that snapshot Monday, February 12th between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Snapshot that was for the sale. The sale obviously today happened with the registration yesterday, and then of course the snapshot for the truck, the February 20th. That's next week, 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Same thing. We just had a snapshot. You hold on to those three on the 20th between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. and poof, you either get this little truck here if you have all three of these little monsters, and if you have all three of the monsters here, the Boogle Walk, Grumble, Guts, and Noodle Fang, you're going to get the Monster Mayhem. If you have the Ghost, the Frankenstein, and the Pumpkin, you have to hold all three of them at the same time. You are going to get the Tiny Monsters monster truck as a reward. Glad that we did get a clarification on that. Glad that people do get to keep the carts after the fact. It's nice that it's set up that way, but I do like to put that flag out there. If you're holding on to carts for this sale, if you're buying carts, picking up carts, acquiring carts, just keep in mind that this is a utility that is temporary. The redemption utility. So that value, the concentration of value on these cards may change after the redemption has happened, after that snapshot's happened. Just an idea for people who are trying to time the market, buy things, sell things. And ultimately, if you do buy and hold on to the cards, you may pay more for them than they're worth after the snapshot, obviously, because part of what you were buying was a concept of being able to be part of that snapshot. Again, went pretty easy. I do want to put out there, these are going on the market. If you are going and looking to buy on the market, keep in mind that when you go and buy a Ghost or a Pumpkin, those are going to be the easier of the three to acquire on the low monsters. If you're going to go and you're looking at picking up the Boogle Walk or the Grumble Guts, those are the easier to acquire of the Monster Mayhem. If you end up with 2 out of the 3, great. If you want that Noodle Fang and there's only 10 of them and nobody who has them is willing to sell them, you're not going to get that redemption. So just keep that in mind as you're determining how much you're willing to pay for those cards. I will tell you, I've already sold a couple, or a few, I should say, so that it is definitely something that it's a market both ways. It's a market if you acquire, you get doubles, duplicates like I did, turn around and try to sell duplicates. If you're trying to acquire the other two, it's a realistic question of, am I going to pick up the rare ones? Obviously, had I got the rare of either series, I would have been working actively to try to fill that set out. But as of right now, keep in mind the countdown clock is till the 20th, February 20th, between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. That's when that snapshot will be. Easy enough, that out of the way. Let's get to the piece that's actually the real announcement today. Announcing and introducing the unique structure badge in Upland. We did get some clarification on this, or I did. The team was able to, in general, in a couple of places, answer some questions. So we do have some clarification on the language, but let's look at the language as it sits. We're thrilled to unveil the brand new badge that Upland players can now earn. It's called a Unique Structure Badge. The Unique Structure Badge is awarded to players who demonstrate exceptional dedication by constructing 30 unique buildings within Upland. Starting Tuesday, that's better. Tuesday, February 20th, same day as that snapshot, February 20th, and continuing every Tuesday thereafter, players who have completed 30 unique structures will earn the Unique Structure Badge. So this is going to be something that is a little brass ring up there. The brass ring is going to be set at building 30. Maybe there'll be different unique structures in 6 months than there are right now. So there's going to be more options for you to get built to hit that 30. But as of right now, we have the structures we have. I'll get into a couple of them. I'll get into some counts and with some realistic expectations as what you may have already done or what you could have already done. And the realistic expectation is very few people have built all 30 because they didn't know that was a thing. Now that they do, people can obviously put their spark where their mouth is. Players, again, who complete the 30 unique structures will earn that structure badge. This is a recognition. It's a brass ring, like I said. It is something that you can earn long-term here. And we'll see how many people are ready to earn it very soon. Important to note, we are working on a better way to display your badges. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod. I've heard a lot of people put this out as a suggestion to the team. The upcoming feature will allow you to control which of your badges you choose to flaunt, aka you feel like your Block Explorer is getting crowded with all those badges around it. You will be able to potentially toggle on and off what's showing. That, who knows how soon that is, but that is something people have already asked for. So I'm glad that Upland's already on top of it. Unique Structure Badge. Again, the name, if it is a misnomer, I think it is a misnomer for some people. It has nothing to do with a unique structure. It has to do with building different types of structures that are already existing in the game of Upland. The Unique Structure Award, again, is meant to be a brass ring. It's something that you can do this week, you can do next week, the following week, and theoretically it's going to stay out there long term and snapshot every Tuesday. So that's good. Key notes here right up front. Showcase your achievement. We also are working on a better way to display your badges. Like I said, this is something to keep your eye out for. Once this is a tool, we could see people change the way they display their badges. Some people are going to want to show as many and make it crowdy and messy because they want to show you that they have as many badges as they have. Let the beginning build or the building begin. Now is the time to channel your inner architect, get creative, and start building those unique structures. Again, they're not really unique. When Upland says unique, they mean one of each type of structure up to 30 types of structures. You want to build more than 30, keep going right on ahead. But this is not unique as in, I got a blue roof on this one, and this one over here has got a red roof. Those are unique. No, it's the type of structures, the structure type that matters, and building different structure types throughout the contest. And again, I say contest, it's just a snapshot badge. It is essentially a badge for wings that's going to stay available long term. Not only will you be adding to the beauty and diversity of Upland, this is a point to be made. We do have a lot of areas where there's one structure that's made. It's been easier for me for a lot of properties to just go and say, I'm going to build the biggest structure that fits in that property, because I want to have the most number of living units. The most number of living units gives me the most storage in that structure. We already have utility for storage of structure. That's called a meta venture. So if I'm going to have a meta venture somewhere, I want to have as much room for whatever it is I'm selling. In the future, theoretically, there may be other benefits of that storage space. So that's always been my theory or my thought as building. I haven't built a full variety because I haven't had a reason to want to build. For example, the Lux Ranch. That's always seemed like a weird one to me. I didn't think that it looked so cool. It's one living unit. It's it takes up a large spot. It requires a large spot. I do have a Lux or a Lux Modern, but I don't have that Lux Ranch yet. So there's a couple structures like that. I just never saw the reason to build. Now's the reason. 30 is a big number to get up to. And again, this is something that you're going to have the opportunity to earn this badge long term. I don't think Upland's going to shut this off. So this can be a goal. If you have 3 different types of structures right now, you got a micro, you've got you got the ranch, for example, and maybe you've got the version 1 small townhouse. You can go build the version 2 small townhouse as your next one. And then after that, maybe you build a full townhouse if you get a large enough, wide enough property. And then you just keep going and plugging down the way until you have 30 different structures built. More Spark makes this easier. This is also a task. If people are putting in the work, if people are excited by badges, if they're building something anyways, but now they're going to build their way through all the structures. Hi, Lily. Hi, Trees. You are going to see that people are going to have different allocations, and you're going to be occupied with this task, and they're going to be spending more Spark because some of the structures are going to take a lot more Spark to build than just putting a small townhouse everywhere or a micro house everywhere. Now you're building the apartments that are going to take 5,600 Spark hours. Now you're having to build the big factory to get to number 30. Those are going to take a lot of Spark hours. They're going to take large properties. Important thing to keep in mind, and that is potentially a Spark sink for Upland. One of the things Upland has talked about is Spark utility. Is going to be important. This year's kind of a year of Spark, where Spark utility is going to grow. We know that we're going to start having transportation by vehicle this quarter, which means moving a car from one city to the next, moving your Block Explorer along with it, instead of using a train or a plane or bus. So that's pretty exciting. But the question, the Spark utility that could come with that we've talked about is when you have transportation with your vehicle going between place, there's some way to power your car. So that could be a Spark utility that's going to come very soon. That's going to, again, require some allocation of Spark, which is going to remove some Spark from that building market. Now we've got more reason for building. So that theoretically, building more utility for Spark is something Upland's been talking about, and it's something they owe us a little bit on. They did mention that that's going to be an AMA that's coming up shortly. It's going to come up before Sparklet comes out, for the reasoning of letting people know when Sparklet hits why to have Sparklet, and what the roadmap's going to be on Sparklet, or the utility of bringing Sparklet back in the game. Why do you want to have Spark in your account? All of these things that you can do with it. So I'm looking forward to that happening, but that's ultimately going to theoretically dry up the Spark market a little bit, might push up Spark rental rates. We'll see. We'll see how much of an effect the rest of this announcement has on that. So, of course, collect, display, enjoy. This is your opportunity to display a new prestigious achievement. Good luck, Uplanders. Not a lot of details here. The big details that are missing are what was meant by unique. I think we already answered that. Is unique means different structure types. That Miami right here, let me go run my mouse all over it. That Miami right there in the middle, that Miami is one type of structure. That Miami townhouse, it is a unique type of structure. This, going and looking at a ranch, that is a unique type of structure. We have all of these master builds, though. All of the master builders structures, those are all unique structures. One thing to keep in mind is we have had 3 structures in the game that you can no longer build. That is in Miami, and that is 2 in Tokyo. You had a limited period of time under which you could build those. You didn't build those, or if you didn't build those, you won't get to get the check mark on the board of structure types. So that's an important one to know. We may have this in the future. Upland's already talked about potentially having more of these in the future where it's a unique structure that you can only build over a short period of time. With new cities coming up, with potentially expansions of Stockton, expansions of Trenton, possible we get unique structures over there. It's less likely that it is a goal of Upland, being that those are FSA cities, but it's still possible. And again, any future city release we get, which we may get sometime in the not so distant future, we could be looking for and expecting some type of structure, unique structure coming along with it that you have a very short period of time to capture. And again, now you have a reason to want to capture that structure. Not only is it unique to that neighborhood, to that city, it's your opportunity to get another check mark on that list towards the count on the unique structures. I mentioned that you can barely get to unique structures now. And the reason why I say barely get there is if you haven't built those 3, that takes 3 right off the list. That pushes you down to, I think it puts you somewhere in the mid, by my calculations, in the mid 30s of available structures that you could build. Leaving aside landmarks, which it's hard to get a landmark. Leaving aside landmarks, that puts you in the mid 30s, and then you're going to start taking away some of those factories. There is one factory that you cannot build unless you've got one of the largest properties in the game. There's only 40 or 50 properties that can build that largest factory, so that's probably going to come right off the list. So that puts you in the lower side of the middle of the 30s. But now you can build the large factory, which again requires large property, a medium factory version 1, medium factory version 2, a small factory. You go right down the list, and you have to build each iteration of those buildings, and you can't get to 30 without building some commercial buildings, without at least building a couple of showrooms, without at least building a couple of factories. So it's going to take some size properties, and they're not going to always be cheap properties. And the larger the factory, the larger the showroom, the more spark it takes. So this is not something you're going to do overnight. There are people who've built a lot of structures. There are some people who've completed probably close to the required 30 different types of structures, but it's not many, and it's not going to be quick. And I only have just under 6 spark, and I'm probably gonna take months at this if I make that my main goal. If I've got other goals and I'm building other structure types for other reasons, that might even distract from that and take even longer. So that is something to keep in mind and to work towards. It's a brass ring. It's a fun brass ring to have. If you're building structures for other reasons and you have the ability to say, I'm going to build the Masters Builders structure in this city, I'm going to build the Masters Builder structure in that city. Now that we had the last Master Builder contest, now in some cities, Upland was giving us 2 structures, one story, one multi-story, which is fun. It opens up the potential for more structures to get added to the game more quickly. That would be pretty cool. But it also means that there are, in some cases, an either-or option. If you don't have any of the right size properties to build structure A, maybe you have the right size property to build structure B, and at least you're getting one of those 2 master builders checked off along the way. I do also want to point out on these to keep in mind the best information available. The questions have been asked. That it is retroactive. So that means that if you've got a small townhouse that's built right now, small townhouse version 1, that's going to count towards your 30 count. When they do the snapshot every Tuesday, that snapshot is going to essentially say, up until this point, what have you built? And again, I think the answer is going to be built, not own. What have you built for structure types? And that can be captured because you have a start. It is on the blockchain, your start of a structure, and then obviously when that completes, it says that you completed that structure and that build. So that is what is being looked for when Upland is looking at assigning and awarding this badge. Moving forward, I've got another 14 that I have to check off the list. I know it's going to take a long time. If you've only started building, or you've only built the micro house, or you have only built a few different versions. You might have a longer list. It might be a longer reach to that brass ring. But knowing it's there, it is just one more way to earn a badge. And I really hope there's more utility than this for structures moving forward. I know there's a couple things, coming up. The hint that we may be able to start storing again at some point, maybe not as soon as we'd like, storing things inside the structures, aka not having the boxes show up on the map, aka at some point may have to start storing certain types of assets inside a structure. So you have to have certain structures available to do that. We don't know yet. We know that it's on the list. It's been discussed for us. So that is something to keep in mind. And again, when I say the balance of structure of a Spark utility and looking at the balance of building structures versus transporting, using Spark to power our cars, what we're really ultimately looking at is if you're renting Spark, the price is probably going to go up. If you are using your own Spark, you may have to allocate a percentage of your Spark to do X, Y, and Z, which gives you less Spark to build potentially. So these are all things to be considered. If you in the UGC side of things, if you're manufacturing already, if you're waiting for the sandbox, the testing to go through in the sandbox and UGC to open up again, and you just start manufacturing things, this is a consideration. Obviously, you're going to be building structures for a variety of reasons. This is just a small piece of the pie, but you're building structures for a variety of reasons. Think about how much your factories are going to eat up of that Spark, of that required Spark to do those other activities. With that in mind, again, we are waiting for that AMA. That AMA should be later in the next quarter or two. Fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll have more information there. With a couple notes here, again, kind of questions asked, questions answered today from the team. One of the questions asked was, hey, we're in the middle of February, right? We were told that we would hear more about Genesis Week 2024 sometime between the end of January and the middle of February. Got some answers? And the answers are, we're still working on it. And what that means is they're still working on it. I think that they do not have the answers yet. I believe when we're told, hey, as soon as we know, you'll know. And I hope that means that they're working on getting the best options to make as many people happy as possible, make things work, make sure things are going to run smooth, with a big caveat that they expanded last year on what they did the year before. I liked panels. I like the idea of giving Meta Ventures an opportunity to have, an open space, like a convention space where they could show off what they're working on, talk to people, potentially, as we've seen with some of the Layer 2 projects, demo a product or a project that they had built out. So I like that, and I hope they expand on that. I hope that they're using their time right now to do all those things, but the time is a ticking. We do need to know sooner rather than later if we're going to be booking flights. Those of us who do have to travel, 1,500, 2,000 miles, especially those going internationally. Sometimes those flights literally book up months in advance. So we don't want to be stuck in a position where we, get the upland tickets, but we don't have the plane ticket, or we have a hard time finding hotels, or it just costs more. It's cheaper to book further out. I'd rather pay less than more anytime I can do so. So that's something that, again, we got a little bit of push forward on that, at the very least, being told that, yes, we know you want the answers. No, we can't give them to you. That's because we don't have them yet, but we're working on them. I'll take it. I just know that I don't want to be having this discussion in 3 weeks. I hope that, we can have an answer sometime in the next couple weeks, and I will keep keeping my eyes out for that. I can kind of partially announce, without giving you all the details, that I've already talked to the team. As soon as we can make those announcements, we're going to be able to flush that out here on the show. I'm going to get that up on YouTube. A good breakdown of what to expect in 2024 Genesis Week, the in-person side of things, maybe some small details on the overall setup of Genesis Week. We know there's contests that happen, big announcements that happen during that period of time. We might not get all those details, but at least where we're going to be, When's it going to happen? How do you book the hotel? Make sure you're in the right hotel. Make sure we can do all those things. Anybody who does want to go. So that'll be on the list here. Hopefully the next few weeks to actually have for announcements. And then otherwise, we do have a couple other things like I had mentioned with the car driving utility. Along with that, maybe coming a new city that's going to require travel to get to. That may or may not, again, based on language that we've received, may or may not happen similar to or at about the same time as getting the ability to travel between cities with our cars. So do separate those two in your mind as two separate utilities. The new city that requires cars to get to versus just being able to use your car to get between two cities that you would otherwise use a train. So we'll have to keep our eyes out for that. Do want to say officially put a fork in it. They're donezo. As of sometime in the last 24 hours, so I would say the last day, depending on where you're in the world, we're in a different day than you. But sometime in the last 24 hours, officially, all the totems say not in cycle. And what that means is we are between the first cycle of totems in Upland and the second cycle of totems in Upland. I'm looking forward to the second cycle. There's no guarantees on when that's going to be. The team of Upland has already said you will know when you know, which means they haven't announced yet. They have kind of announced, or when asked, they have kind of put forward that they will give us a little bit of notice. So keep your eyes out. And of course, as always, it will be something that we make sure we cover in detail. And the two things to cover in detail is, A, there's a lot of resources that are already out there. They did a great job the first time around, the first cycle. I expect them to be around there for the second cycle. And B, Upland can change many of these variables when it comes to the second cycle. Don't blindly assume if you hear about the second cycle that it's going to run exactly the same as the first cycle, that your feed amounts are going to be the same as they were in the first cycle for whatever life form that you have there, whatever color it is. So just keep those in mind, and we'll proceed cautiously together when we get to cycle 2 and look for that announcement. Otherwise, for today, thank you so much for being here. Happy Valentine's Day. We'll give you that. Next year, maybe we'll have a Block Explorer sale, maybe not, but at least I've got those little flashy hearts on my Block Explorer as it travels around the metaverse. For tonight, thank you so much for being here. We're here Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. PT. Hope to see you tomorrow. Hope to have more news. And of course, if you are in the Discord, as I always say, and I always like to do, feel free to unmute your mics. The show is over. The floor is yours.